there have been a lot of performance improvement in the banking sector. And as you mentioned, ma'am, every time the government, responsive government, asks every stakeholder to respond, I think the response has been phenomenal. So is the case with banking system. When reforms in banking sector in terms of the recapitalization, recognition, and reforms have been undertaken, and professionalization of the public sector banks has happened, isn't it something what you are looking, because the context is banking and economics conclave. So what is that you are expecting from the banks to further? You did mention in your speech that banking and financial services play an important role in the self-reliance, and particularly from a point of view of financial inclusion. I think we have reasonably done on that front. Is there any ask from the banking system and the broader financial ecosystem from you?
Nothing out of the box. You have to be a lot more proactive, reach out, widen your customer base, and also make sure that what you do will have to be a blend of both the old-fashioned banking with the new technology-driven banking. You just can't now say, I'm doing it all digitally, and I will reach out to my customers online. All that is fine. But person-to-person contact, which was the trait of Indian banks. And even when technology wasn't available, you made big waves because of the way in which your banking operations were people-driven, customer-driven, your staff-driven. I think that emphasis on person-to-person contact, and there, of course, since I come from the South, I will say language is an important way in which you communicate with your customers. Even if they're proficient in Hindi or English, I think it gives a nice touch. We Indians are known to go abroad and say few words in French and few words in Spanish or few words in Japanese because we want to please the host. It is basic etiquette. And the only flack which I'm unable to defend on behalf of the public sector banks, I'm not talking about the private ones at all, is when, because of our HR policy, we post people with different mother tongues to different areas. I'm not blaming the policy, but not a word of the local language is spoken. That little element of touch which is required with your local customers, without them you're not there. You need to have that element come in. Technology can be anything. DPI can bring in great advantages, efficiencies, productivity, profit. But that human touch is what many of the earlier private banks had, which later got nationalized. I've heard in my family stories after stories of how they would go to the villages and meet up with the customers. You don't need to toil like that, which our predecessors did. But yet, you need to have that touch. And I would put that as a very big element for your growth. Please don't be tantalized by just the technology-related growth. There are people out there. Connect with them. You have actually, now that it's a budgetary announcement, and I would see each one of you all having to do it, credit rating of a customer, particularly MSME, will have to be your own. It's a budget announcement that you shall not have a credit rating outsourced company advising you on it. What's the logic behind it? You knew your customers earlier because the person posted there would tell you about the local, who's creditworthy, who's reliable, who's authentic, who's this, who's that. That's completely gone. Wouldn't you want to restore that? What kind of and also the ills of outsourced credit rating are up to our nose. People know it now. I cleared my debt, but still the agency has taken its own sweet time to correct my credit record, and therefore I'm being denied loan. At a time we want growth to be given the emphasis. You can't ignore any one individual who's contributing to the economy. So I honestly, through this conclave of SBI, appeal to all banks, make sure your HR policies are such that you're not just recruiting for the sake of numbers, recruit for making sure that every staff posted at a branch would understand his customer, speak the language locally. At least if the top management doesn't speak, at least the branch level officials should speak. And I would strongly push towards performance appraisal based on his or her efficiency in the local language. That said, I think you have a very clear agenda. Credit will have to be made available. Even yesterday, I had 2 people approaching me saying, impossible to deal with your banks, as good as us shutting and going back to our local, money lender. Our paperwork has to be simplified. Of course, there's some work going on KYC. In the FSDC, we've spoken about it. All banks will have to sit and talk about it, and all regulators will have to come on one page. We'll do all that. But you will have to make your processes simple. You can't be putting the onus on the borrower to go on proving and providing documents till death comes. I'm sorry to be so blunt. If these small things are corrected, you will be one of the most appreciated institutions in the country.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a favorite theme and very close to FM's heart in terms of not losing the human touch. I think while high tech is important, high touch is equally important. I think that message is loud and clear. We will definitely, all the banks have been working on that. And in terms of what you mentioned, that the credit, the whole process simplification, ma'am, I would like to share with you as a concluding remark from me, is that we in SBI has undertaken Project Saral, simplify the processes what our employees are doing. While we have looked at customer journeys, we have had apps and reimagine the journeys, while the employees are empowered to provide simple solutions to the customers, we are working on Project Saral, and many things what you've been talking over the years, we are undertaking in this project. Thank you very much, ma'am, and on behalf of SBI and all the people who are present physically here as well as virtually across the channels, I would like to place on record my heartfelt gratitude for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Finance Minister. Now I would request Chairman Sir to please